Phil Davenport with Just Water, and I am here today to demonstrate on how to construct one of our gravity drip systems using a 4x4 ceramic filter. And I'll go through the list of supplies that you need. You need 2 drill bits. You need a 5/8 drill bit for your hole for your filter, and then a 3/4 inch drill bit for your spigot. And actually what I use is what I call a step drill bit, and it has multiple sizes, and I can just use this one drill bit for both holes. You will also need a 1/16 or 1/4 inch drill bit to drill your vent hole. You will also need 2 buckets. In this case, we're using food grade buckets with screw-on lids. They don't have to be screw-on. They can be snap-on, but food grade is important. Along with that, you would need one of our ceramic filters. This is a made in USA ceramic filter. It's a 0.2 micron. And with that comes a wing nut and 2 washers on the bottom. And then you also need a pre-filter, or what we call a sock. It's just a piece of cloth that covers the filter, so when you're working with water that is dirty, this will filter out some of that dirt before it actually hits the filter. And then a spigot, and this spigot happens to be the 3/4 inch back, and I believe that's it. Okay, I've turned my bucket upside down, so I'm going to drill my first hole. This will be your top bucket that holds the filter, and what I'm going to do is take the drill and put it right in the center and drill through there. And I always check to make sure that that hole is large enough for the stem of the filter to go through. And you can see that it goes all the way through. Okay, now I want to drill my vent hole, and this is important. This is either a 1/4 inch or a 1/16 inch drill bit. I'm drilling right underneath the threads, this overhang. It's important that you drill a vent hole, because if you have the lid screwed on and you start draining the water out of there, it's going to create a vacuum, and the filter will not work. So by having a vent hole there, you're preventing that vacuum from forming. Okay, now I'm going to drill the lid that goes on the bottom bucket, and I'm going to take and go right to the very center, drill through, and then check and make sure my filter will go through there. This lid's going to go on the bottom bucket, and it will be connected to your top bucket. Everything's tied together, and your connection's waterproof, so you're not contaminating your filtered water in the bottom of the bucket. This is the bottom bucket, and this is what has the spigot in it. I'm going to come up about 2 inches from the bottom, and I'm going to drill a 3/4 inch hole. And then I will drill a vent hole. As a review, this is my top bucket, and I've drilled a 5/8 hole in the bottom of this, and this is what is going to be, which holds the ceramic filter. And then I've drilled a hole in the lid for the bottom bucket. Again, it's the 5/8, so the filter is going to go through there. Then in the bottom bucket, I've drilled a 3/4 inch hole, which holds the spigot. Okay, now it's time to assemble your drip system. So what you need is your ceramic filter, and you need 1 washer on it. You're going to take your top bucket, stick the filter through the hole in the bottom, and take this lid that goes to the bottom bucket and put on there like that, put one washer on, and then take the wing nut. And what I'm doing is I'm turning the wing nut and I'm holding on to the plastic base of the ceramic filter. If you hold just onto the ceramic, you could damage it, so hold on to the plastic base. Okay, I've got it tight. This connection now should be watertight, so when you're filling your top bucket with contaminated water, if you spill any down the side, it's not going to run into the bottom bucket. I'm going to assemble the bottom bucket now that has the spigot in it, and the spigot comes with two washers, and so with the spigot I'm going to take the washer and put the flat side against the raised ridge on the spigot. I will stick the spigot through, and then on the other side I will stick the curved edge up against the bucket, and then take your hex nut and screw onto the spigot. And I'll usually just take and turn this spigot and get it tight. The curved edges on the washers allow that to conform to the curvature of the bucket. And turn it till it's correct. And now you've assembled your drip. I'll show you how to attach a sock to your filter. This filter, if you can imagine, is actually inside the bucket. You'll take your sock, put over the filter, and then there'll be a rubber band provided. Some people use string, some people have used zip ties to hold that sock on there. If you don't use this rubber band, when the bucket is filled with water, the sock has a tendency to float off. Again, this is a pre-filter, or what's called a sock, and its main job is to filter out all the big stuff so your filter is not being coming in contact with large particles in the water. Okay, so now you're ready to put your system together and start using it. So you've got your top bucket with the lid that goes to the bottom bucket. Filter's been installed. So in this case, you just set it down there and you turn it. It screws on. Then what I would do is put a little bit of water in this, about a third of the bucket of water, and let it sit for about 5 minutes. Unscrew this lid and double check that filter connection to make sure that you don't have any leaks there. If all of that is going great, then you're ready to fill it with water. You don't necessarily have to, or you can, use this top lid. Lid would just simply fit on here and screw on. That simply means that every time you get ready to fill this with water again, you have to unscrew it, take it off, and fill it. You can just leave it open like that. Okay, this is a cutaway view of a typical drip system. This is your bottom bucket. It has a spigot on it. This is your top bucket, and this is a cutaway view of your filter so you can see what the inside looks like. This is activated carbon, your ceramic shell. There's a washer underneath it. The wing nut right here has a washer right above it, and then it's attached to the lid. A system like this will produce 12 to 15 gallons a day if you're just continually pouring water in. You'll get about up to 15 gallons. If you need more water, you can use what's called a syphon tube, and this is a piece of vinyl tubing. It's the exact same size as what the inside diameter of the filter stem is. And what you want to do is, once your filter's been built, you take this piece of tubing, stick up inside of that stem. This tubing is going to lay in the bottom of the bucket. Once you pour water in, water filters through the filter, through the carbon, and down the tube. Once water covers the end of that tube, rather than just depending upon gravity, you're actually creating a syphon, which means you're pulling water through the filter. And with this, you'll get approximately, with this kind of setup, you'll get approximately 35 gallons of water a day, simply just by you continually refill. A couple of the most commonly asked questions, one is, how long is this filter good for? And Just Water says that the activated carbon in it is good for 1 year. The ceramic shell is good for 1 to 2 years. Now, how do you know when you have to clean the filter? Because as you use it, any solid matter in the water is going to gradually go to this surface as water goes through it, and it's going to start to block that up. So as you see your water production decrease when you've lost 3 or 4 gallons a day, then I would suggest that you clean it. And what we suggest is using anything that's mildly abrasive. And in this case, I've got one of these little scratchy pads. And what I'm going to do without removing the filter from the container is I'm going to go in and very lightly rub this surface down. And then I'll pour some water in, rinse that off, and then your production should go back up to what it was when you originally started using it. Never, and I repeat, never use soap directly on this or indirectly in this container. Soap, as soon as it hits this surface, begins to block the pores of the ceramic, and then your filter is ruined, and you just need to throw it out and start over again. One word of caution, if you're working with contaminated water, which is going to have bacteria in it, you want to make sure that you always clean your hands after you get done working with this filter. If you're touching this filter, you're actually getting that bacteria on your hands. So it's better to wear gloves. If you don't have gloves, then make sure that you always wash your hands with soap and water, and even some sort of disinfectant to get rid of any bacteria or contaminants that are on your hands. Okay, I want to show you how to drill a hole in the bottom bucket. You'll see it's got a center point. I'm going to take that drill bit, stick in there, drill through there, clean it out, and you just drilled a hole in the bottom of your bucket. To drill a hole in the lid, I'll turn it upside down, and you can see that there's a little dimple there. It's the same way. I'm going to stick that drill bit right there, go through the bucket, and then I'm going to lift it up, drill through there, and then I will take a filter and stick through the hole to make sure that the hole is large enough. Okay, in review, I've talked about the drills that you need and drill bits, a 5/8 and a 3/4 inch drill bit, and then either a 1/4 inch or an 1/8 inch drill bit. I've talked about your 2 buckets being food safe, how to drill holes in them, and this is your bottom bucket with the spigot. This top bucket has the hole drilled in the center of the bottom, and then it's actually connected to the lid on the bottom bucket with the filter and the 2 washers and the wing nut. I've also explained to you about the sock and how you put it on the filter, and then how you attach that, and what the purpose of the sock is again, is a pre-filter. I've demonstrated on how to drill the lid and the hole in the lid, and then I've also demonstrated the siphon tube. So again, with a system like this, without the siphon tube, this will give you 12 to 15 gallons of water per day. As soon as you add the siphon tube, the same exact setup, you're going to increase production to about 35 gallons a day. And then I've also talked about care and maintenance of these containers. So one thing I guess I didn't mention is, before you start using this bottom bucket, you want to disinfect it, simply because you don't know where this bucket's been. So a bleach and water solution will help clean this bottom bucket up. You can filter the water, add some bleach to it, disinfect this bottom bucket, and throw that out, and then you're ready to go. And that's how you make a gravity drip system using a Just Water ceramic filter.